Hey, what's up guys? capnbozzy here, and this is Mass Effect 3 Multiplayer N7 Academy Part 18. And in this episode, we'll be covering the Krogan Warlord, who's one of the most powerful tanks in the game. So let's check out his powers. So if you're familiar with the Krogan Warlord, then I'm sure you know that he's all about meleeing with his hammer. So of course you have two options here with his hammer, and that is using the biotic hammer and the electrical hammer. The way I like to use this build, I know that there's a couple different builds online if you go and search for them, is going with specifically the biotic hammer, and I do agree that the biotic hammer is definitely superior than the electrical hammer. However, the electrical hammer does have a specific use, and I'll explain that as we go through, and especially more once we get into the game. So I'm not going to use tech armor with this build, and that's really because if we look at tech armor here, you can see that it does slow down power use. So basically, if you don't have it upgraded all the way to rank 6 where you can reduce the power speed penalty, you are going to be dealing with that. And this is a unique kit in that, since you're just using your hammer, and whenever you charge up your hammer with either the biotic or the electrical damage, and then you use it, it uses one of the charges on the hammer. So the recharge speed with this is not really too big of a deal, because you're not going to just be hitting dudes with the hammer the same way that you would normally, throw out like warp or some other type of projectile power. So this isn't, going to be something that you necessarily need a really fast cooldown speed for anyway. However, that power speed penalty there is just enough that, in my opinion, it's not really worth it. And of course, you can also use the tech armor to detonate on nearby enemies, and that will throw them back. And of course, if their health is low enough, it can even kill them. But for the most part, when I play with him, I don't really ever use the tech armor in that way whenever I've used tech armor with him before. So to me, it's really not that necessary to use it, because mainly because the other way that you can use the tech armor is, of course, with this damage protection. So it does give you a little bit of damage protection. With rank 4, you can see is an additional 5%, and then let's see, you can also on rank 6 here spec it to get this additional 10%. In comparison to just using Warlord Rage here and specking this for the health and shield bonuses, that right there, just rank 4, that 20% is already more than the 15% that you can get with just those bonuses for tech armor. And so in my opinion, it's not really that worth it. The only reason I would suggest using tech armor is if you're going to actually use it to detonate on enemies. But in my opinion, it's really not that necessary for this build. Okay, so moving on to biotic hammer here. The way I like to use biotic hammer is basically against bosses or against sub-bosses. You want to use the Rieger carbine, which I'm going to be using as my only weapon, and I'm going to use that with incendiary ammo to be able to prime enemies for fire explosions. And then I can use both the biotic hammer and the electrical hammer to detonate that fire explosion whenever I use the ammo power to prime it. And of course, if you're on a team with biotics, then you can they can prime for you, and then you can detonate with the biotic hammer. And of course, if you're with some tech people on your team, you can also use either or the biotic hammer or the electrical hammer to detonate any tech detonations as well. But going back to my first point here, basically what I like to do is use the biotic hammer. Basically, once the bosses get down to about 3 bars is kind of the rule of thumb. You can run up to them and use the biotic hammer on them, and you just got to be careful not to get grabbed, especially by banshees. They love to do that, and it's really annoying. So make sure she's in the right, phase of her animations and everything where she's not going to grab you. So, she can get in there and just, like I said, when she has about 3 bars left, I would say 3 to 5 bars, you'd be pretty safe. You want to go in there and get the kill shot on her. That's really the way you want to do it. Obviously, if she's being distracted, and we're just using banshees for the example here, if she's being distracted and her back is towards you, and like your teammates are shooting her, then you can certainly go up and hit her no matter what her health is at, because you won't be in danger of getting grabbed. However, if she's just focused on you, you want to use your Rieger to get her health all the way down to, like I said, about 3 to 5 bars, and then you can use your hammer on her to get the kill shot, and that's really the way that you're going to be the most effective. So you're going to be the tank in the game who's just going to go up to those bosses and just take them down, and just really just stay alive for just brute force, brute strength, with your heavy shield and everything. Take a lot of damage, just soak up a lot of damage and take up their attention, and just keep using that hammer to knock down those bosses. And once we get to electrical hammer, I'll also tell you the specific use for that, but let's just go over these ranks so we can get through this here. Alright, so for rank 4, we have damage and force versus recharge speed. Like I said, recharge speed is really not that big of a factor with this. I think that with this current build, my recharge speed for that I will say on my Rieger is about 145% plus. So that's perfectly fine for this. That's definitely fast enough cooldown speed. So I would say definitely go with damage and force. You really want to do as much damage as possible with your biotic hammer. Alright, and then we got rank 5 versus armor damage. So you got your biotic combos here that the only reason I'm choosing armor damage over biotic combos here is simply because if you're not playing with a biotic team, then you're simply not going to be doing any biotic combos. So like I said, I'm going to be using incendiary ammo here, so I'm going to be priming for fire explosions to use by myself. So the only way with this build that I'm going to be able to get any type of biotic combos is with my teammates. So since you can't always rely on that, in my opinion, you might as well just put it into armor damage, because that's what you're going to be using, to take down bosses and sub-bosses anyway. So, why not just be able to do damage to just extra damage to all types of bosses rather than only get the bonus for biotics. Alright, and then lastly here with rank 6 we have the power hammer versus number of charges. In my opinion, this is a no-brainer. You absolutely want to have 2 for number of charges. It really is definitely just the way to go. As good as having this increased impact is, having the extra charge here is absolutely more important, at least for the way I play. Alright, so then moving on here to the electrical hammer. Like I said, so I use the biotic hammer to basically, get the kill shot on bosses. That's really the main thing. And then what I use the electrical hammer for is to use that on mobs of enemies. So usually that's when you're going to have maybe mobs of mooks around you. Basically, you want to use the electrical hammer to do as much damage, not to just one enemy, but to a whole mob of enemies who are around you at one time. So that's why the electrical hammer is really all about impact radius. So you want to be able to use this impact radius to be able to detonate. So of course, if you have your Rieger carbine with incendiary ammo, you can use it to spray the enemies around you and get them primed for fire explosion. And then even if you just hit one of them around you and they're not dead, you can then use the electrical hammer to detonate that fire explosion, and then you'll get that nice big impact radius around the whole mob of enemies, so that it will take them all down, or at least take a large chunk of health from all of them and probably kill a couple of them. Alright, so what we have here is shields and barrier versus impact radius. So like I said, I definitely suggest going with impact radius here, because this is all about crowd control. Doing damage to shields and barriers, that's nice, but that's that is definitely another way that you can go with the electrical hammer. It does do a lot of damage to shields and barriers, as it says it's highly effective against shields and barriers. However, in my opinion, impact radius is more important. Alright, then rank 5 we got fire damage versus chill. In my opinion, I'd much rather have fire damage, just because it's going to do that 318.75 damage over 5 seconds. I'd rather have fire damage that's going to do lasting damage that burns enemies, and just in my opinion in this game, fire is always the most effective way. It's always better than ice. So, unless, you're really going for a specific build where you really want to go with ice and then maybe detonate it with some other, fire or something like that, I definitely suggest going with fire damage. All right, then lastly here we got radius and combo versus number of charges. Obviously here you would think that number of charges would be the way to go, but you already have 2 charges here, and 2 is definitely all that you need. So if I was to go with number of charges here, I would have 2 more, and that would be up to 4. That's definitely not necessary. Not necessary at all, since you're going to be going back and forth between the electrical hammer and the biotic hammer. 2 is absolutely plenty, so definitely go with radius and combo. Like I said, get that extra impact radius, and also, you're going to be doing tech combo detonations with this, so that to me is an absolute no-brainer for this particular build. All right, then for Krogan Warlord here, we got rank 4, so we have weapon damage versus damage and capacity. Like I said, I'm pretty much going with a complete melee build here. Obviously, I will be using the Rieger, to strip shields, and also when I'm, in between using the hammer and it's still, recharging with the cooldown. Of course, I'm going to be using the Rieger as well. So definitely want, to focus more on getting that power damage, because, like I said, you really want your hammers to be as effective as possible. So we're going to get that extra power damage and force bonuses here. And also the increased weight capacity so that you can get some faster cooldowns. And then also for rank 5, I'm going to go even more into power damage over headshots. With the Rieger, I'm going to be using the targeting VI, so that's already going to give me plenty of extra headshot damage that I need with it. And then lastly here we got just shotguns versus weapon damage. Once again, I'm just going to go with just decreasing the weight of shotguns. You could go either way with this. I think that, just to, make sure I'm covered completely with my cooldowns, I think that, just having that extra recharge speed, that will cover it. That basically compensates for the whole rest of the build where I'm not putting anything else into recharge speed. All right, so then lastly here we got Warlord Rage. So obviously with Rage, if we look here, we can melee and kill 2 enemies within 45 seconds to go into a frenzy to increase melee damage, reduce your damage taken, and boost your health regeneration for 45 seconds. So this is absolutely key to this build, because of course you're going to, just be running up to enemies, bosses, mobs of enemies, and you're going to be soaking up tons of damage. So you absolutely want to be able to get into rage mode as quickly as possible. And the way that I had this spec'd with rank 6 here, you can trigger rage mode to just 1 within 45 seconds with this pure rage at rank 6. So that's really the key to this. Is I'm just going to be in rage mode pretty much the majority of the time when I'm playing. So that will give me all these bonuses here, and that's really the key to helping him stay alive and just be as effective as possible. Alright, so moving on to rank 4 here, we got melee damage versus durability. In rank 5, I'm going with martial artist, so that will give me this extra 75% melee damage. That really compensates for rank 4 for not choosing this melee damage here. So I already got the 75%, and so just to give me some more health and shield bonuses, just to keep as balanced of a build as possible. I got this extra damage protection as well, and additional health regeneration by 40% while in rage mode. So this is basically just covering my health stuff. And then here we got some more melee over shield recharge. And then lastly here, like I said, we got the pure rage. So that's just some more increased melee damage, as well as reducing the number of melee kills to trigger rage just to 1. And that's just over more fitness stuff. I'm going to be using a psychotic modulator. I have a 3 right now, but so you could, obviously, depending if you have a 3 or a 4, that will give you the extra shield strength that you need. So that's where I'm compensating for that instead of having fitness expert here. Okay, so that covers the powers. So let's move on to the weapons. Like I said, I'm just going to be using the Rieger carbine for this. If you don't have the Rieger carbine, you can certainly use some other great shotguns like the Wraith or the Claymore. I know a lot of other people, we can just look through here. I know a lot of other people like the Raider, as well as the Spike Thrower. If you do not have these higher level shotguns unlocked, obviously you can go with like something like the katana, scimitar, eviscerator. I would say probably the eviscerator is the best out of those. Even the disciple's pretty decent. And another one is the piranha. That's also a decent choice as well. Okay, I personally like the Rieger because it's just extremely fast with stripping shields. Okay, so as for my mods, I'm going to go with the spare thermal clip here. That's what I use for all of the Rieger, all my Riegers, as well as with the high velocity barrel. If you remember me saying in previous videos, there is a bug in the game that basically does not register this increased weapon weight when you're actually in the game. It registers it when we're looking at this power recharge speed, but when you're actually in the game, it does not register that 50 plus 50% weight. So your cooldown speed will not be affected by the high velocity barrel. So you definitely want to use that. All right. So that covers the weapons, and then lastly here we got equipment. So like I said, I'm going to be using incendiary ammo. Of course, you know, if you don't have 4s, go with 3s or even 2s. If you don't have any incendiary ammo, you could also go with either disruptor rounds or cryo rounds. I definitely suggest going with something that you can use to prime for tech detonations in this. So obviously, you know, you could also go with something like warp rounds, but really I suggest incendiary. If you have them, they're the best. And then like I said, I'm going to be using the targeting VI, and that just gives me some increased headshot damage with the Rieger. If you don't have that, you could also go with strength enhancer. Obviously this is a melee, you know, all about melee damage, so you know this will help with that as well. In my opinion, I don't really need to add any more. With just the powers, I think I have plenty already. And of course, you could also go with shotgun rail lamp if you're using a shotgun. And like I said, to compensate for the powers that I'm not, you know, putting any points into my shields, this is where I'm compensating for that with the cyclonic modulator. So go with a 3 or a 4, whatever you have. You could also go with something like the adrenaline module. The Krogans are not quick, but they are fast once they get moving. So you don't necessarily need this, but this is definitely not a bad idea. The Krogan Warlord cannot take cover, which is definitely one of the cons of this kit, and you know that can be difficult. That's something you have to keep in mind. Something you could also use is of course the power amp, and that will of course give you some more power damage for your hammer, or the power efficiency if you've spec'd your build in a different way, and you know this is a way that you want to help compensate to get you some faster cooldown speeds. And also if you wanted you know some faster recharging shields, you could go with this as well. Shield power cells. And then lastly here, I'm going to go with Berserker package here, so this would give me both shotgun damage as well as melee damage. Alternatively, you could also go with hydraulic joints for extra melee damage as well. You could also go with something like Juggernaut shield or shield booster as well. Any of these will work, whatever is your preference or whatever you have available. Those are really the best ones. There's also, I believe, let's see, Martial Biotic Amp, so that gives you some more biotic damage and melee damage. Basically, whatever will give you either shotgun, melee, or shields is really the best way to go. Alright, so that covers the build, so let's hop into a game and get this guy into action. Alright, so you can see there in the top left my keybinds. For X, I got my biotic hammer, and you can see there the 2 charges that are purple and glowing there. That's the biotic, and now that that's cooldown, for F, I use the electrical hammer. You can see the orange ones there. Those are the electrical hammer slots there. So for right now, I'm just going to go back to the biotic hammer and It's pretty straightforward with this kit. Obviously, you know, all about using the hammer, like I said. You got basically 3 different types of melees that you can do, and as I mentioned earlier, I'm now in Rage mode, so the way that I have this spec'd, with just 1 melee kill, you can go into Rage mode, and that will give you those increased stat boosts, so that's definitely the way to go. You want to stay in Rage mode and just keep on, you know, hacking away. So there's, of course, that's the heavy melee with the hammer, and that's just like the big swing. And then you have like the charging melee, like that, which is like charging forward, and he just hits the enemy with his arm there. And then you got the baseball swing, which is 1, 2. That it kills him too fast. I gotta do it on a Marauder to show you the full baseball swing. And of course, that's just the single shot with just a headbutt. Alright, so here we go. Is 1, 2, and 3. And that just sends them flying. That's so much fun to do. So with every single one of these, I'm just getting sent back into Rage mode. So I'm just constantly in Rage, just 24/7. Basically, you can just let the enemies come to you. There's no need to go out in the open. Just use cover. You know, let the enemies just trickle in. As you go out into the open, even though the Warlord, as tanky as he is, and you have a whole bunch of enemies hitting him at once, he will go down. So, you know, you definitely still want to be smart. Be smart. You know, use cover, and may have mentioned this before, the Krogan Warlord cannot take cover, so, you know, he can only use soft cover. He cannot even traverse, you know, these ledges and things like that. So, you know, you got to make sure that if you need to escape really quickly, that you have your, you know, escape route, you know, with doorways and things, you know, in front of you. So, like right here, that's the only way I can escape in that area. I can't traverse that ledge. So make sure you're aware of that. Alright, so let me get a mob here, and like I said, basically for crowd control, I want to use the electrical hammer specifically for that. So let's see if I can get a couple corralled here. Alright, so here's 3 of them here. Bam! So you can see, doesn't do as much damage as the biotic hammer, but it does allow you to get more radius, so you can hit more enemies at once. That is so satisfying. So we should be getting some brutes in this round here, so I'm going to show you how to do this fire explosions that I was talking about. So of course I'm going to be using my Rieger to prime them for the fire explosion, and then I'm going to use the biotic hammer to detonate it. So like I said, you want to wait till the brute is down to about 3 to 5 bars on his health, just to make sure that he's gonna you know, die for sure. With the 1 hammer strike. So once again, you want to get the kill shots on him. All right, so here we go. He's down to about 3 to 5, and then bam, use that to detonate that fire explosion on him. So there you go. I got 2 enemies just to make sure I get the radius. I'm going to switch over to electrical hammer. For single enemies, I want to use biotic just so that I can have as much power as possible on them. Alright, so once again with the brute, this time I'm going to use the electrical hammer on him. Alright, going to do some more damage. He's down to 3 to 5. And then bam! that fire explosion on him. So of course with the biotic hammer as well, you can do damage to more than one enemy, of course, but it's really only the ones that are directly in front of you, whereas the electrical hammer here has a lot more radius, so you can cover a lot more ground, and like I said, that's really just for mobs in particular. Alright, so once again, the Brute. Gonna use the Rigor, get him down to about 3 to 5. And bam, use that biotic hammer to detonate, take him down. Once again, take him down. 3 to 5, and then get the kill shot. So I got a mob, so I'm going to switch to electrical hammer. Just go to town on him. So that's really the basics of it. Pretty straightforward. Alright, so let's get this hack done and then we'll wrap this up. So once again, as you can see, I can't take cover in any way. I just gotta stand here and take it. So use your soft cover, use right hand advantage. He also cannot do overcover grabs, so he is limited really to just what's on his body. He can't do anything more than that. Alright, take down this Brute. Down to 3 to 5 now, and then kill shot. Once again, just make sure with these guys, make sure that and when you're facing against these bosses and sub-bosses who can sync kill you, you hit them at the right time where they're not going to just pick you up and sync kill you in mid-swing. It does happen sometimes, so you got to be aware of that. And of course, also another part of this game, you can use inclines to not get sync killed. So as long as you're on an incline and you are not in the on the same level as the boss, you will not get sync killed. That got a little rough there. This is not a kid I usually normally solo with. Like I said, he's really something you want to use in a team, so that when your team is priming for you and you can go in there and get that big kill shot with a fire explosion or whatever type of explosion, you just kind of run in there and just take care of those bosses, and kind of like in the same way that the Jug does. You want to be just like the boss killer. Boss killer and crowd control. Alright, so once he gets 3 to 5, get that kill shot on him. Alright, we got this Banshee left. Oh, she will be perfect. Alright, so I'm going to take down her barrier there with the Rieger. And once she gets down to 3 to 5. Bam. Take her down. Alright. Well, I hope I didn't miss anything. If I did, I'll let you know in the comments. Thanks a lot for watching. In the next one, we're going to cover the human soldier. So, take care, and I'll see you next time. capnbozzy out.